Hello, welcome to our YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you on. I just wanted to initially ask you how you became interested in tool engineering and what kind of tool engineering have you been studying?
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Hazel team. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. So as you asked about how I got interested in tool engineering. So speaking truly, I was watching a video in YouTube about a metal cutting process in CNC. There are many videos about it. So from there, I got interested in tool cutting. So how a metal is being cut, how a metal is being prepared for automotive and various avionic industries. So there I generated interest in tool engineering.
Excellent. And what kind of tool engineering do you focus on?
So here basically the design and the mold, die and mold department is we are focusing on.
Okay, so the dye and mold department. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, great. And you're going to talk us through a heat treatment video that you're going to do for us. Could you explain what will be in that video on heat treatment? What kind of things are you going to talk about?
So basically in that video, I am talking about the heat treatment processes. What is its necessity? Some basic heat treatment processes such as annealing, normalizing, and uh, some basic idea about heat treatment processes. So basically there is a basic idea about heat treatment processes. What are heat treatment processes? Why is it necessary? So this is some of the things that I have used in that video. So hello viewers, how are you? This is Kapil Saini here. So today we are going to get a basic idea about heat treatment processes. So what are heat treatment processes? I think this is my view that before knowing any topic, knowing any process on a certain metal, what we should know is the reason why behind it. This is my view. In our life or in our any stage where we learn, we must know the reason why, that why we are doing it, why we are doing a certain process. So the reason why here is, why is it needed, what are its benefits, is it effective, what is its necessity here, so why heat treatment is needed. These are some of the why questions that we must know before knowing how and what. If we know the reason why, the how and what behind any topic becomes very easy. So let's find out why. Ferrous and non-ferrous metals have wide applications, as you have known it. I give you a simple example. Take for an example aluminium. We use it in our homes in the form of wires, aluminium wires, and it is also used in making complex airplanes. It's the same metal with different properties is being used in different places. Let me give you another example. You might have seen very hard and wear resistant tool cutters and the rotors and shafts which have very high tensile strength. These are two different properties. So the material is ferrous. The ferrous materials are being used with different mechanical properties. So how is it possible? We know that the same material is giving us different properties and different characteristics at different places where we are using it. So how is it possible? How we are able to get so many different mechanical properties from the same material? So this is the reason why here we will know how we are getting these characteristics and properties, how we are exploiting this metal so much. So to get these properties, to get these different mechanical and chemical changes in a metal, we do heat treatment. One of the ways to change the property of the metal is heat treatment. So now we have learned why we need it. So now let's move to what is heat treatment processes, what are its benefits now. So heat treatment process is basically consist of basically three steps, that is heating, holding and cooling. So the main benefit, why is it needed? The main benefit is it will change the mechanical properties, chemical properties, and it will also change the microstructure of the metal. So when we have to alter the mechanical properties of a metal, we need heat treatment processes. And metal could be made both harder and softer by heat treatment process. Even the electrical and heat conductivity of a material could be increased by this process, by our heat treatment processes. So, as you might know, that cold working processes on a metal will induce certain stresses, and to relieve that stress, we do heat treatment on that particular metal. So, it's a very important process. I think almost each and every industry, each and every metal that you have seen in your life will go through one or more heat treatment process. It is used in everywhere where we use metals. So, what are the basic three steps of heat treatment processes? Basically, there are three steps of heat treatment processes, that is heating, soaking, and cooling. So, what is heating? So, in heating, what we do is we heat the metal to a certain elevated temperature, such as in up to its critical temperature where its microstructure will change. So, this is heating. We heat it in oven or a furnace. Then, what is soaking? The second step is soaking. In soaking, what we do is we hold that metal to that certain temperature. So soaking will depend on its mass. So the soaking, what is soaking is holding that metal to that certain temperature will be soaking. Now we have to cool it to use it. We have to reduce its temperature to the our room temperature to use it. So how we cool it? If are we cooling it in oven or uh, are we cooling it in air or are we cooling it in oil? That these cooling processes will determine our different heat treatment processes, and these different cooling methods will alter its microstructure, and these microstructures will lead to different mechanical properties. So basically the three steps in heat treatment are heating, soaking, and cooling. So now we should know the what are different heat treatment processes. So basically there are four basic heat treatment processes, that is annealing, normalizing, hardening, and tempering. There are many more such as surface hardening or tempering, carburizing, but basically four are annealing, normalizing, hardening, and tempering. So let's study them one by one. Annealing. What is annealing? If we want to increase the ductility of a metal, if we want to increase its, we want to make it more ductile, and we want to reduce its hardness, then what we do? We do annealing. If if we go at the micro level of that metal, if we want to reduce the dislocations of that crystal structure of that material, then we will do annealing. So what we do in annealing? What we basically do, we heat that metal up to its critical temperature, so that in critical temperature it will be suitable for fabrication, and then we let it to slowly cool in that furnace or oven where we have heated it. Means first of all heat it to its critical temperature, then let it cool in that furnace or oven. So there is one disadvantage, it will increase that cost of that furnace or oven, because we are letting it cool in that furnace or oven only. So what is the process in annealing? Heat it to its critical temperature, make it suitable for fabrication up to that critical temperature, and then slowly let it cool in that furnace or an oven. This process is known as annealing on that certain metal. So what are the benefits of annealing? First of all, if we are improving the ductility, it will improve the formability of the material. It will be forming that metal will become easy. Secondly, it will also improve the machinability. We can use different machines on it. Secondly, the wear on a tool. If we want to reduce the wearness, if we want to reduce the hardness, then annealing is the best method. And secondly, the residual stresses that cold process have done, or if we do a cold process on a certain metal, residual stresses will generate, and these residual stresses could be relieved by annealing. So there are many benefits of annealing. As you can see in the picture, the annealed metal is easily bendable, but not the hardened metal. So these are the benefits of annealing. Normalizing. Our next process is normalizing. So what is normalizing? Basically, the normalizing and the annealing are same, but there is a difference. There is a acute difference between them. So let's study normalizing. If we want to make a metal more ductile with toughness, because there was not so much toughness in annealing, if you want to make it ductile with some toughness, so what we will do? We will do normalizing. So how we will do it? What we do in this process is we subject it to thermal and mechanical hardening processes. So how do we do it? What we do is we heat it to an elevated temperature, then we cool it. So how do we cool it? Now here in this process we don't cool it in furnace or oven, we cool it in air. If we cool our metal to in the presence of air, then it will be known as normalizing. What we were doing in annealing, we let it slowly cool in the furnace or oven. But here we are cooling it in air. As you can see in the picture, the metal slabs are being cooled in air. So normalizing process, the cooling is being done in the presence of air. So the process will be normalizing. So faster cooler rate than annealing, and it will also be less expensive. As I told you in the earlier slide, if we are cooling it in furnace or oven, it will be costly because we have to uh, give extra time on, we have to waste money on that furnace and oven. So heating at an elevated temperature, then cooling, it alters the microstructure of the metal and reduces hardness and increases ductility. But the faster cooling rate than annealing will induce some toughness in the metal. So normalizing is good if we want more ductility and toughness. So what are the benefits of normalizing? First of all, ferritic stainless steel stampings. So in the automotive industries where we need ductility with toughness, it is best to do normalizing. Nickel based alloys in nuclear industries. Nuclear industries use highly ductile metals with toughness. So there we use normalizing process. And you might have known that during welding, many stresses are induced in that metal. So normalizing following thermal microstructure alteration after welding. So normalizing will be used in that welded part of that metal. Carbon steel that is normalized after cold roll to reduce brittleness. When we cold roll a metal, it will induce brittleness. So that brittleness could be decreased by normalizing. So these are some of the benefits of normalizing. The basic difference between normalizing and annealing is this, that we cool metal in normalizing in the presence of air, and if we let our metal to slowly cool in that oven or furnace, then it will be annealing. So in annealing, the ductility increases, but in normalizing, some toughness with ductility is present in the metal, will be present in the metal. So okay, this was normalizing. So now let's move to our next topic, that is hardening. So from the name it's clear what will we make on the metal. We will increase the hardness of that material. So mechanical properties will increase, hardness will increase. So our workpiece, that is material, that is metal, will become more durable. So what we do in hardening? We heat the alloy and cool it rapidly, and it forms a stronger structure. The microstructures will become strong. So what happens in hardening? We heat the metal to some elevated temperature, then we cool it rapidly. So how we cool it rapidly? We may cool it in the presence of water, we may cool it in the presence of oil, or we may also cool it in the presence of air. Depending on these different processes, it is known with different names. So quenching in oil, if we cool it in the presence of oil, then it will be known as quenching. In the air, we use nitrogen gases to cool it. First of all, the hardened material, there is one side effect, there is one disadvantage of hardening, that hardness will increase, but it will come with brittleness. So our metal will become more and more brittle. So it is not very much popular to just harden the metal. What we do after hardening, we temper the steel, we temper our material so that brittleness decreases. So to reduce the brittleness, and With hardness, what we do is tempering. We temper our material, we temper our metal after hardening processes. So we will study the benefits of hardening after the tempering process has been done. So benefits of quench tempered steel. Quenching, that is hardened in oil, means if we use oil for the cooling process, then it will be known as quenching. So the benefits are, we have quenched the steel, now it has been tempered. So what will be its benefits? There are various benefits. The quenching word you might have studied, you might have heard in the Forged in Fire channel. There are many steel swords, but they use, they quench it in oil. Okay, so there the quenching word is very uh, regularly used, because they, all of them, they harden their steel or the material in that oil. So what are the benefits of quench tempered steel? So consistent mechanical properties. Consistent mechanical properties, it means we will harden the material, then what we have done, we have reduced the brittleness, means the life of our metal have become more durable. It has become now more durable. It will be tougher, it will be less brittle. As I have told you, tempering will reduce that brittleness. Then increased strength will increase in that tempered steel. So there are many benefits of quenching before tempering. So now the tempering process itself. So as you might have known, I have already told you that tempering is done after hardening processes. So what we do in tempering? So in tempering, what we do is elevate the steel below its lowest critical temperature. Once temperature is reached, it is held there for a specified amount of time. We soak it there for a specified amount of time. There are specific time limits that we have to maintain. So what it do, it creates a middle ground between hardness and strength. Means it will induce some hardness with some strength. Means brittleness will decrease and hardness will be there. So that the perfect metallic property that we need is we get after tempering. So what it does, it allows carbon diffusion in that steel microstructure. In the steel microstructure, that carbon diffusion will take place. So what happens with tempering? It improves the machinability and formability of that hardened steel. So if the metal is hardened, then it will be very difficult to machine it. So, and it also decreases the risk of cracking or failing. So tempering is very necessary. So what are the benefits of tempering? As I have told you, the example of Forged in Fire, there this sword is is quenched, and after that it has been tempered. So what it will do, it will reduce the cracking and failing of this sword. So heating carbon steel and rapidly quenching it can leave it too hard and brittle. So we don't want a sword with brittleness. So we do tempering on it, and tempering can reduce the hardness and relieve the stress of a welded component. Welded component also get hardened due to that high heat that we generate in welding. So the tempered metal could also be used to punching, bending, forming, drilling or rolling, means machinability increases after tempering. So these were some of the benefits of tempering. Now let's move to our another process, that is case slash surface hardening. So in surface hardening, what we do is, if we want our inner metal to be soft and our outer layer of that metal to be hard, so what we do is we do surface hardening. This is a very specific process. So hardening the surface of a metal object while allowing the underneath to remain soft. So what is its benefit? Desirable for metal components that are subjected to sliding contact. Anyway, where we need sliding contact, we need somewhat tensile strength, its ductility on that surface, we need wear resistant. So what we do is we do surface hardening. So case hardening and surface hardening, what it does, it produces a component that will not fracture and provides adequate wear resistance. So I already told that it will be used in moving parts such as sliding contact, where it needs hardness on its surface but some softness in its interior material. So there we do surface hardening, that is case hardening, surface hardening are both are same. Then Our another process is ostempering. So what is ostempering? If we want to improve the mechanical properties and reduce the distortion in our metal, we use ostempering. So it is used to apply to ferrous metals such as steel and ductile iron. So what we do in ostempering? So we quench the part from proper austenitizing temperature into a liquid salt bath. We use liquid salt bath at 590 degrees to 710 Fahrenheit. So what we do, then we held that our material at that temperature until austenite turns into bayonet. These are different forms. So austenite will turn into bayonet, then we cool it. I have not used certain graphs in our slides because it will then there will come many jargons. So I have refrained from using it. Sorry for that. So what are the benefits of hot tempering? So as I have told you, less distortion, greater ductility. These are some of the best benefits of hot tempering. Uniform and consistent hardness. So this is one of the very most benefit of hot tempering, that is we will get uniform and consistent hardness, toughness and more wear resistant, higher impact and fatigue strengths are some of the benefits of hot tempering. So these were some of the various heat treatment processes. As I've already told you, there are many, but the basic are annealing, normalizing, hardening, and tempering. So now let us recall what are the benefits of heat treatment processes, such as it will make our metal or our material more durable. Steel will become more tougher and stronger. It will be easier to weld. It will become more flexible. It will increase its wear resistance. So overall lifetime of that metal will increase by our heat treatment processes. So these were some of a basic idea about the heat treatment processes. So thank you, and last but not the least, I want to thank Jennifer and Hazel team for inviting me here. Thank you.